Good afternoon. This is Mr. Not Advice, and it is Sunday, June 1st, 2025. And this is my weekend update. Of course, this is always for entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as advice in any way, shape, or form. Okay, let's get to the markets. I wanted to wait and see how the futures open today. We did have a couple geopolitical events over the weekend. The big one, obviously, would be Ukraine wiping out, I think it was a third of Russia's strategic bomber force. I also read that they hit their a nuclear submarine facility too, and so there is obviously incredibly increased risk with how Putin is going to respond to this. So that is obviously not good. And additionally, Trump threw on steel tariffs on Friday and doubled them to 50%, 50, as well as news came out that the discussions with China, negotiations, let's call them, have pretty much all been broken off. I'm not shocked. This is China. This is what they do. They will meet after being badgered, and that way they can go to the domestic population and say, look, we met and nothing happened. So oddly enough, while that became news, and then Trump also said that China had broken its word in terms of what was initially needed in order to keep the massive tariffs off of them. He put out a tweet effectively saying, not effectively, he said, no more Mr. Nice Guy, whatever that means. And then our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, came out and posted about an imminent military threat from China. So here we are, and the ES is effectively open flat because unfortunately, right now, the market is, I think, so shell shocked. I mean, if you really think about it, we've been in this cycle since whenever the general election really started, the campaign, let's say, 2025 or 2024, end of the first quarter. We've been in this for over a year. This type of tension, this type of from one catastrophe or possible crisis to another. And I think the market is just like part of it is uh, just this dullness to these headlines. At the same time, almost like who the F cares? I mean, there'll be another headline tomorrow. So, but it's important not to be lulled to sleep because one of these times something's going to break. And the fact that the market is attempting to make new highs um, on the back of or with the background being rising geopolitical risk as well as economic risk here in the US, that makes me very nervous. So let's look at let's just take a look at. So last week was up 1.9%. I'm talking about the S&P. It had the month of May was a terrific month of plus 6.2%, and that left the S&P just positive on the year, 0.5%. One interesting thing, according to Goldman Sachs head of hedge fund coverage, Tony Pasquarillo, he pointed out that this is the real money accounts were actually net sellers last week, while hedge funds were net buyers. So, on that note, looking at order flow, hedge funds were sellers for 7 or 8 weeks, and then they finally got flipped and had to become buyers. Real money accounts are going to be huge accounts, pensions and those types of accounts. So they were net sellers last week. Interestingly for us, we were stopped out of a couple positions last week. And let me take a look here. Looking at our performance. So last week I closed out this trade IBIT, which was 33 days, and I closed out these EOS trades just by sheer luck, but reading the charts a day before the EOS news came, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And so those were nice gains. I took profit on these EOSE calls on that same day, and then I got stopped out of 2 small trades last week. So for me, my model portfolio is up 20% for the year, and since inception, cumulative return of 320%. So in addition, let's take a look at just the overall market, my read of it. SPX, here we go. SPX needs to break and close above 6,000. That's it. Close above 6,000 or close below 5,800. One of those two levels is going to break. And when it does, that's going to decide the direction of the market. On the Qs, the NASDAQ market, again, 526.27, the high needs to break, or all the way down here into this gap. Let's call it 500. So we have room between the two. And either one that breaks first is going to tell us whether we're going to test new highs or not. Individual stocks, let's take a look at Tesla. We are in a Tesla position, TSLL, that we're going to need a stick save on in order to stay in it. But Tesla has confirmed a high close doji. I suppose there'll be support down here in the overnight. Since it trades 24 hours, it's already indicating down further. So for us, unless this gets back above, let's call it 1584 tomorrow in the open, we will be out of that trade and get stopped out. So Roblox set another new high on Friday. Nice retrace against support here. My stop is now 84.42 on Roblox. We're at 86.98. Actually, we're going to raise that stop to the open of Friday, and that's going to be 85.80. So I have not gotten a scale on this yet on Roblox. Hopefully on Monday. Looking at NVIDIA, NVIDIA is stuck in this big old consolidation battle zone right now. So until it breaks either one of those, there's really not a heck of a lot to do. Looking at ENVX, again, stuck in this consolidation zone until it breaks. There's nothing to do and not really concerned overly. Dollar Tree continues to muddle. It's an ugly chart now, unless we get a very clean break to the top side. We got a reversal on Beyond, and so I'll be looking at a trade for that on Monday. But this is a high close doji, so my target would be down here at 550 at this support. So I'm looking at doing that. We have EOSE right now. I think we could come down here and test this 4. Maybe a tail down here, but I do think that the majority of the selling is quite done. I'm looking for a reversal here so I can add back. And so I've got to wait on Monday to see maybe we get a higher close on Monday than the high of Friday. Okay, that's all I'm looking for. That would also be a gap close. So I'm looking to trade up into here. This is a lot of obviously price move in a very short amount of time. So if it were to get any momentum, this could be a very quick move. Speaking about the financing, look, people on Twitter who are more knowledgeable than I have really laid out the case in the very detailed case for, the bull case or the bear case. I come down more on the bull case. I don't think that Cerberus would put in jeopardy their $1 billion investment by extending when they can cash out without having a great degree of confidence that their additional time risk they're taking on is going to produce multiples of X return, additional returns. So I think it's still an orders story. And I think when they announce orders, depending on the size or the rhythm I think that's when the stock will start moving strongly to the upside. I think currently right now, we may muddle around here. Do I see it going all the way down to $3? I really don't. But I'm assuming all the worst of the news is out. So if that is true, then we'll look at the volume. I'll watch for the volume. We as or myself, I got my face ripped off on one of my calls. They're July's, so I got lots of time. But my gosh, I think I'm like a 95% loss on it now. I already scaled half of it, but that leaves a mark. My leaps that I still own are down. So this is not something where I'm looking at this and not, as always with my trades. I take these trades myself. So I'll make, as for the drama that's going on in Twitter, I have no comment because I'm not involved. So if you ask me that question on Twitter, I'm not going to answer it. I'm not involved and I refuse to get involved. And that's all I'm going to say. EOSE, I am looking to add to my position. I'll continue to do that. The overall market, I did add a short position on Friday. It was an additional 1%. And I did that on Friday because I saw the overall market. There was a couple of headlines that came across. Trump came out and said what he said, and then Jamie Dimon came out and said what he said about, our country needs to be stocking up on, bullets and there is a negativity going on in the market, and then looking obviously at some of the selling going on. The other thing that's the tell for me was we took 2 breakout trades and they failed, and so right now here until we get break out of this range, I'm not interested in taking outside of EOSE or other trades that we watch. I'm not really interested in taking those. So at the end of the day, I think this week's going to be very important because if we look at a longer term or we step out of this, either we're going to make it up through here or we got a little bit of ways to fall down here. So I think it'll be NVIDIA helped last week, Tesla helped last week. What didn't help was Trump getting upset that there's a Wall Street term now called the taco trade. And so I whether he really is responding to that and about China and all that, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he is. However, he has said that China has been violating the tariff, let's call it, pause. So cautiously bullish, but as I said, I have a 2%, very small short position because I am concerned about one of these possible gray swans turning into a black swan, flaring up, right? Oh, there was also news and rumors that Israel was getting ready to bomb the Iranian nuclear. Now, look, I know a lot of this is probably psyops or it's military psyops or misdirection, but the fact that it's being discussed, the fact that you've got in Russia a powerful military committee or advisory committee talking about, hey, telling Russia, it's a Russian committee, you're of your triad of weapons, 2 of them just got hit. Your strategic bombers got hit. Your nuclear submarines got hit. There's only 1 left. And, so now there's this chatter about, well, how do they respond? I pray to God they don't. But the fact that it's being discussed and that the market, I think, to close out is just dull right now. That's numb. There's the word. It's numb. And I'm not, I'm not full force, both feet back in the market. I've pulled back, and I'm gonna watch and see what happens this week. So we need some trade deals. Okay, once we get some trade deals announced, then I think we get this market maybe has a shot at breaking out. But I don't. I'm not super excited about going along this market at this point until we decide, or until the market decides to ultimately break out of this just crappy range that we're in. Oh, yes, the other one that we closed was IBIT last week, and we actually closed that. This was the Bitcoin one. We closed that right at the high. Actually, we closed it here. Here, actually. So we did very well on IBIT. What did we make? 135%. So, and that took 33 days. So anyway, hey, if you get a chance, I'd listen to the podcast that I did with DJAT and GC and Just Jake and Mr. Reza. I think it was a fantastic podcast. I hope you guys like it and you gals like it. So let's have a great week this week. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me through Discord or through my email, and I will talk to you soon.
They ain't got no muscle, no hustle, no backbone. I stand alone, not tripping, just saying I'm different. Ain't hanging on to the coattails of the next man. Passport in my left hand, thinking that you are next. Heck, hope you ain't holding your breath, man, cause I'm out here, I'm hungry. I don't play around, trust me. Ain't had as much drive since my Honda Civic got rusty, and my girl said that she loved me. It's funny, just thinking back, study hard for that 9 to 5, like I thought that I should be good with that. I was dreaming, still dreaming. Spotlight on me like Willie Beeman.